Paul, thanks very much for that introduction, and thanks for being here today and guiding us through what's going to be an awesome day ahead, I hope. So, it is great to be joined for this panel and really to launch Youth Trends 2018, Voxburner's Insights report for this year, with a great panel. Right in the middle, we have Shanu, who's a trends forecaster, digital content creator, and also a contributor to the report. To her left, we have BJ, who's a good old friend, not so old, but a good friend. And BJ is the founder of Super Networks. And then to Shanu's right, my left, we have Victoria, and Victoria is founder of the US program. So what we're going to do is we're going to delve into some of the core content that Youth Trends 2018 explores around lifestyle, around technology. Hope you guys are prepared. Around content, and maybe a final exciting question right at the end, just around branding, and hopefully all these kind of core headlines that we're going to delve into will set us up for the exciting journey ahead over the next couple of days. So let's start, if we can, with let's start actually with our tummies. I don't know if people walking through the venue today got excited by all the food on offer and the food stands for lunch that are due to be served. But this generation, the 18 to 24 generation, seems to be, guys, obsessed with food. And it seems to be that you guys are like pulled in like two directions, if I'm not mistaken. One is the direction maybe that, would have been familiar across many generations, junk, okay? And like brands that are, serving up the old classics are still like up there. But perhaps more importantly and more excitingly, this seems to be the quinoa, wheatgrass, superfoods generation. BJ, where do you stand on that?
So yeah, I think when it comes to young people, you can't really box them all in one, for starters. And I think there definitely are still the traditional big brands that were junk, that we all have nostalgia from growing up, that we all like to still chew on and eat. But I think you've now got a big, not really a divide, but a mix that people can kind of go through. So I think I'm seeing a lot of my friends and a lot of young people I work with go through spurts where sometimes they're on a health kick vibe, but then they allow themselves to have cheat days and really mix it up and not punish themselves too much. We're now seeing a lot more people talk openly about mental health and about weight loss. So I think people are beginning to have a better relationship with food now than they've had in the past, but it's still a process.
Sure. I like that you can't be boxed in. Definitely feels like me. I order lattes with almond milk, but I like to put a bit of cream on the top. Okay, I get very criticized by family members for that. Shanu, can you be boxed in?
No, not really. I mean, I kind of eat everything. I love junk food, but I also like to eat healthy at the same time. And what I like about this whole foodie movement is actually the kind of visual side of things. When I go on my Instagram, I love like the way people are curating their Instagram feeds and making it look really pretty. And it makes me think about food in a different way as well, like the ethical side of food. I want to think about where my food's coming from more. So for me, it's all that, really.
Sure. So, like one of the responses that we came up with in the report, over 30% are posting food stuff on Instagram. Victoria, are you one of those, or?
I'm not really a foodie. Like, I don't have a budget for healthy eating. I love junk food. But the biggest trend for me and what I'm seeing with my friendship groups is veganism. Like every young person or like every person I know like loves posting pictures of avocado with French toast on their Instagram feeds. Like all YouTubers are now turning vegan. Like it's a very big trend. So I think within the healthy lifestyle is this idea of like, veganism is really taking off. And I think that's like now the next big movement. Everyone wants to eat healthy or just like be healthier. So yeah.
And plenty of vegan options out there today, I can assure you. Let's maybe move on. I think you touched, some of you, around healthy lifestyles, and obviously big in the news at the moment is this whole issue around young people and anxiety and depression, and obviously the important work that Prince Harry has done in raising these sort of issues to the floor. BJ, I wanted to ask you really how you think brands should or shouldn't kind of step into these sort of areas.
So I think generally if you're a brand that's a food brand, you should be conscious of the calories and conscious of the relationship people have with food. I think the alcohol industry for many years has had to be conscious of people's side effects when having drinks. And I think as a food brand, the audience and the consumer are becoming more and more aware, and they're going to ask more and more questions. I can vividly remember the horse meat scandal with Tesco, and I still remember it till today. I know some people forget it, but I think brands should just be careful in making sure that the consumer understand what they're purchasing and have some recommendations on how to consume it. And I think they'll support you and enjoy you furthermore for that. And if you're not a food brand and you are incorporating food in your activation or in your campaign, make sure that you have a wide variety available, because you've got a mixture of people coming to your events now.
Sure. Shanu, is this the depressed generation, or is it just that these issues are much more in the public sort of mind, and people are, young people are sort of happy to wear their hearts much more on their sleeves?
I think definitely the latter. I think people are more open about who they are, their identities, how they're feeling. I've got quite a few friends on Instagram who are very open about self-care and about, the things that they're going through that we wouldn't have talked about, like taboos we haven't talked about in the past. I think from a brand perspective, I think it's really important to have an empathic view when you're talking to consumers, to be quite sensitive about these things and to also be quite open-minded and also open to how you discuss these things. I think empathy is a key word when it comes to branding. I think that's the way to connect with a younger generation who are so open about all these difficult subjects sometimes.
Okay, maybe let's go to the floor if we can. Any burning questions from the floor around this lifestyle issue? Anyone? There must be a starter for 10. Yes, our first question of YMS. Ryan. Oh. If you can repeat that.
Yeah, Alex from the Guardian. Paul opened up by he mentioned two words that I wrote down, which is authenticity and social good, and I think it's words that we're going to hear repeated quite a lot of this over the next 2 days. You're talking about food, and we're talking about how Instagrammable food may be, or how, and this goes beyond food, I guess. What's actually more important, the values of a brand and the values of food? So, and the reasons as to why people are consuming these foods. If we don't talk about the values, then surely the brand's not being authentic. There isn't the social good, and young people are just going to see through it in an age where transparency is ever more clear.
Shani, you look like you want to grab that one. How important are seeing through the exterior to getting to the heart of what brand values are all about? What's your take there?
I completely agree that it's a value. Consumers value values, and it's beyond just that prettiness. I mean, I was talking about Instagram foods as a visual aspect of the foodie side of things. When it comes to actual brands, that's why I talked about empathy being so important and being so clear about how they speak to people and what they stand for. I think people can see through fakeness, and it's really important to be really authentic as a brand and to understand what you stand for and also what your consumers stand for.
Yeah, I totally agree. And another thing as well with Instagram, if we're taking the issue of Instagram, when you go on Instagram now, as for a young person, everything is like you in partnership with sponsorship for. So like for young people, we know that like, okay, if a certain Instagrammer, like a big influencer is promoting XYZ, I'm gonna think, if I'm seeing everything that is really in partnership or in sponsorship, how real is this product that I'm talking about? I'm more likely to purchase a product if my friend has bought it and I hear from her that it's great, than now if an Instagrammer or a big influencer posts something.
Guys, let's move on to technology. There is a lot of technology out there right across the exhibition, and it's a key area that we explore in this year's report. I guess my question really is, with AI, driverless cars, and all sorts of weird and wonderful things that Star Trek. The Star Trek generation of 25, 30 years ago, okay, more like sort of my generation. Well, not quite, but anyway, it's coming true. Are you scared by it, or are you excited by it? BJ, you want to take that?
Okay, cool. Personally, I'm very excited by it. I think a lot of my close circle of friends are very excited by it, but it's hard again to say that everyone's excited by it. I think with new technology comes a lot of questions around privacy. We obviously have the stuff that's happening at the moment with Facebook on the news, and we've had other privacy scares in the last couple of months, last couple of years. So I think people are becoming very, very conscious when they're playing around with a new AR toy and they're trying to do something augmented reality and they're having to share their location or share their privacy. People are becoming very aware of where the images and where the data is being laid, and people are hearing the news, like I know GDPR is a big thing that's coming out pretty soon. So I think it brings a lot of excitement, but for a lot of my young peers who are on the other side, there is a lot of caution, and I think the biggest thing with any innovation is clarity and just being upfront, because we now live in an age which just continues from what we had before, where you only have one chance to make an impression. And if people have one or two bad experiences with your technology, it could really mess you up. And a great example is Vero. A couple of weeks ago, that exploded onto the scene. No one knew where it was. But for example, if they now had something where they did something with people's trust over the next couple of weeks, that would really kill their brand. But they still have a chance to kind of make a comeback if they wanted to.
I know, BJ, obviously very initiated. You mentioned GDPR. Who's scared by GDPR in the room? Okay, a handful. Who doesn't know what GDPR is? Okay, all right. You will by the end of the next 2 days, I'm sure. Victoria, BJ touched on Facebook, and I wanted to see how long it would take for you guys to mention Facebook. It's been mentioned. The cat is out the bag. It's now in the headlines once again, with perhaps its worst scandal ever. Facebook, for or against?
Well, I think with my generation, I think one of the biggest social media outlets now that is taking over or just radicalizing the game is Snapchat, Instagram, especially with the Insta stories. I feel like more people are moving away from Facebook. So I was on Facebook, I was full Facebook 2 years ago, but now I'm just on Instagram, on Insta story or Snapchat. So I think with my generation, people are moving away from Facebook as well, with all the scandals that have been happening or just the things, problems in the news. But I feel like Instagram is now the big be-all coming back.
And 43% of 18 to 24s are posting on Instagram at least once a week, but no doubt a lot more than that. Shani, what about the actual issue in hand and data and the way in which brands, not only Facebook, but are kind of getting access to our data? What's your take on that?
That's a good question. I think it can be problematic when you're not sure about where your data is going. I think brands need to be really open about what they're doing with people's information. think that's the future as well, because we're becoming more distrustful of what's happening with our personal information, and I think we're becoming more aware of what's happening as well. So I think the future is to be more open, and what BJ said, to be more transparent with what's happening as a brand as well. Facebook, I'm also on the fence. I'm kind of like, I think I might quit, but but all my family's on there. My family lives quite far away, so it's one of those weird things where you don't quite know.
Ultimately, everyone knows that Facebook owns Instagram, right? So they're winning anyways.
Yeah.
Let's just take the last section around content, because it ties in quite nicely, and then we'll open it up very briefly at the end, and then maybe a final question. So I know we've already mentioned Instagram. I think we mentioned Snapchat, and obviously we've spoken about Facebook. And I think there are a lot of brands out there here that find it, I think, difficult to keep up with that fast-moving world around, like, which platforms you guys are on, and what is the future, what you look to, obsessed as, you know, young people are, you know, by obviously social networks. What's your predictions for the future? What resonates with you guys? BJ?
So, obviously, I've got a quite unique position. I'm an entrepreneur by trade, but also creative. So, I'm very excited about in LinkedIn and like people using it in different ways. But that's on a professional level. There's obviously things that are bad about LinkedIn, but I like how it allows me to work with different companies, different clients. I think on a personal level, Instagram is obviously the most exciting platform for myself and my team, just because it's where you have the attention. We're not really on Snapchat no more at the moment. I think further away from...
Careful, Snapchat are here.
Yeah, that's cool. And they've still got millions of users. They still have millions of users, and I'm not disregarding it. I just, myself and my own peers, we don't use it at the moment. I think YouTube is getting interesting. I don't know if everyone's been watching the rise of Kyra TV. So people making long-form content, TV style, high quality, and actually proving that you can get a youth audience to watch content for 15 minutes plus. I think we're going to see a lot more brands actually commission branded content with a bit of style, a bit of authenticity, and also a bit of paid media to kind of make sure it's reaching the right people. So I'm excited by the rise of YouTube again as well.
Got it. Maybe one question from the audience around this or tech. Yes, the lady in black there. If you say your name and company, that would be great.
Oh, wow, it's loud. Helen from Pret. I just wanted to talk to you about influencers. We moved to influencers because it was deemed more authentic. We're now paying influencers thousands upon thousands. Do people see through that? Is the bubble going to burst? What are your thoughts?
Guys, there are a lot of influencers here, everywhere. Maybe some of you guys are influencers as well. What's your advice to those looking to pursue the influencer avenue, particularly amongst brands? Victoria, you want to take that?
I think like now, because like everybody, like all big influencers are getting a lot of sponsorship deals, like a lot of young people, we can see through it and we just disregard it because it's just like, if everyone's doing it, and if you go on YouTube and they have a discount code at the bottom, it's like, okay, I'm not really going to purchase that because you haven't really tried the product, or I don't know, I don't really fully trust you. But I feel like there are some influencers out there who are authentic. Like, I can give like a big American example. Myself, as like a young black lady, I follow Jackie Aina, who she is very, very big in the US, and because I almost like can relate to her because she will say, like, even if a company does send her something, she will give the honest truth, and she knows that she may be taken off some people's PR list. But I feel like, especially with influencers, it's choosing the right one, and that is not necessarily the one with 1 million views, followers on Instagram. Individual who has 600 or 6,000 can just be as effective, but my generation, I think we've come to the point where it's everywhere, sponsorship is everywhere, that we can see through it now.
BJ.
I suppose, just for a bit of context, I also run an influencer agency on the side, and we work with Coca-Cola, Kia Motors, and Domino's in the last couple of months. And I think the one thing to think about when talking about influencer marketing is what's the alternative? So the alternative is putting a paid media on the side of Facebook's feed that a young person might not see. It might be doing a pre-roll ad before they're watching the content they actually want to watch. That kind of leaves a bad taste in your mouth. I think the point that Victoria's mentioned is true. People can see through the crap, but ultimately it's about the collaboration you have with the influencer and looking at them as more of ambassadors and working with them on a longer base, having a better selection policy when you're working with them, but also remembering that you can't just pump all your money into there. You need to have a mixed strategy. So TVs might not be as effective for your brand anymore, but if you're going to do anything online, do mix up the influencer budget with actual real-life activation and touching people, but don't discredit it and think that it's fake, because ultimately they have real audiences watching them every day, and it's about your filtering process.
Final question to you guys, and kind of bringing it all together. Maybe just a final word, two, no more than a couple, around what you see is essential for the brands out there and out of these walls as well, what they need to do really to succeed, thrive amongst the new generation. Shanu?
For me, it's less about marketing and more about mattering.
Great. Victoria?
Personalization, making sure your strategies or your operations are personalized to the consumer. A really, really good example of that for me is Misguided posted, they had a campaign, Babes of Misguided, where they use like everyday individuals speaking about like their insecurities or their problems, and I feel like for myself as a young female, that was like great. I felt connected.
BJ, last but by no means least.
Like Shanu's comment, just mattering and being part of the conversation. It's more important than advertising.
Guys, you've got to matter, you've got to be part of the conversation. It sounds like you need to be open, but out the box. Don't box the 16 to 24 generation. Don't box them in. Be true to yourselves, be true to them, make it matter. Please give the panel a big round of applause. Thank you very much, and enjoy Youth Trends from Voxburner 2018.